or one of them, depending on which area you guys are teaching in. I cover humanities, social sciences, world languages, English, kind of all that. And then this is Jay, he's my district manager, coming out with me, and then of course Hannah joining us as well.
Cards for you to say yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
There you go.
And since we've got a small group, feel free to make this pretty informal. So if you guys have questions or kind of want to delve into anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
I don't need one, I know you.
You've got my protective phone.
Thank you.
Do you need one? Oh, you're just taking pictures. All right, so we're just going to talk to you guys a little bit today about some technology. I know that technology is always kind of a big thing. How do we incorporate technology into the classroom? Different ways to incorporate it. There are a lot of different kinds of technology. One piece too is just kind of figuring out, what can the publishers do to help me with? Who are they? What are they doing? And how can I have them help me to achieve my goals? So, kind of wanted to start out with a little, meme here. We all think we're very tech savvy, students as well. So, kind of a fun way to think about incorporating technology. All right. So to start out, one really important way that people are looking to incorporate technology is to help encourage classroom engagement and activity. So, a lot of times maybe you have a big class, and so it's hard to really get those discussions going, or maybe you've got that 8:30 class on Monday morning, and nobody wants to talk. So that's how do we get them going, and how do we get them interacting during class? So we have some, there's some different technologies. You guys have probably seen eye clickers, maybe used those in some classes before. Kind of a way to, put questions up on the board and have students interact and, answer questions. Eye clickers are great. They can be a little bit limiting sometimes. So we also have a program called Learning Catalytics, which I'm going to show you. It gives you the opportunity to share 18 different question types with your students, where they can kind of, walk through, draw graphs, make word charts, just different ways to get them to engage beyond just multiple choice or yes or no. Have you guys used eye clickers at all in any of your classes or seen them? What's your experience been?
I think it's a cool idea. I'd like to use it in the future.
Yeah. Okay. And so I know sometimes, how it works, the college purchases eye clickers. What's kind of cool with Learning Catalytics, which we have as well, is that students can just use their own phone. So if they're on their mobile phone, if they've got an iPod Touch, if they've got a laptop, whatever they have, so it kind of, removes that burden of having to purchase a piece of technology. So I'll show you how this works. So what you actually get to do now is you get to get your phones out, or phone, or tablet, or whatever you have. I know Anna mentioned that Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty in here, so if you guys can get a signal.
Log in as well, just so that we can more responses.
Oh yeah,
Good
perfect.
show.
Good idea. No, I'm just gonna.
Yep.
So learningcatalytics.com/demo. What we do is I'm just gonna log in really quickly into technology. Got a couple questions I want to have you guys answer.
That one was fun.
All right, so we've got a session ID up here, and I'll copy and paste this and put it over there. So there you go. If you want to type in that session ID when it asks you to join. And this is just a demo site that you guys are using, so it's not going to record your info or anything.
So that's the same one as before that we used.
Oh, probably was this.
I would, just end it and read the link. We'll do a new session ID.
Okay. We were doing a little testing earlier. It looks like it's still running on the same one, so we use a new session ID. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Practice. Kind of shows you how easy it is to do this in class. Pretty quick little adjustment. So try this course ID instead. 701-328-11.
Is everyone at that screen?
I got it, okay.
We'll wait till everybody's done.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
So when you're on, you should see a screen that says, please wait
He'll answer.
for the next question to become available.
Okay. This is just kind of showing you too exactly what the experience would be in a classroom. Fun and unpredictable. Okay. All right, so the first question is going to be a sketch you get to draw. So draw how you feel today. That's awesome. And don't worry, I'm not judging your artistic abilities. You guys get to see each other's responses as they go through.
No copying.
Yeah. Looks like we're in good mood so far today. Oh, I like it. We got some excitement.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool. All right.
And you can hide them so you don't necessarily see that. That's
Yeah.
all up to you.
Yeah, you can keep these private as well. Question 2, just type in which class will you be teaching? What classes, if there's one of those? Project management. Very cool. Who's teaching project management?
Actually, I used to teach that.
Very cool. That's a good one.
It was fun. The students did fix it.
Ah, it's such an important skill.
I know.
Yeah.
And the word cloud is good. It's better with a larger group, obviously, because then you can really see which word is the most common. With 4 of us in here, 5.
A lot of varying.
5 different.
Yeah, so if we had maybe 4 people in here teaching anatomy,
Yeah.
okay, so you'll kind of see as it grows. All right, so this is going to be a little chart. You can draw on your little chart to sketch the curve of what you think happens to students' attention span during a 50-minute lecture.
Can't go below 0 or?
You draw whatever you want. That whole little box is yours. All right. Looks like we got some trends going on there. That's cool. So you can see the kind of the aggregation there of what everyone's doing. All right, what single word best describes how you're feeling about teaching? This is another word cloud. All right, excited.
One nice thing, whoever's teaching anatomy or physiology, you can also put images in there. So you pick the part of the brain or the heart or the ventricle, whatever it is, and the students would select, and you would see on that diagram where all the dots were, to pick where, the heart is, for instance. And you could see, okay, if a big clump is on, right here, you're like, well, no, it's your shoulder, it's not your heart. You know what to address. You don't find any difference between. But the point is, it's again, especially in anatomy physiology, it's a pretty cool tool to use to deliver images. So you can take images right out of the PowerPoints from whatever book you're using and deliver those images to your students.
Oh, that is really cool.
So there's 19 different question types in the program.
Hmm.
So true, false, multiple choice, word clouds, drawing, sketching. Or you can upload any of your own images. as well.
Yeah. Make your own questions.
Yeah, of course.
And something that's cool with this too, so this is actually the instructor screen. So if you're up in your, teaching in the front of the classroom, this is the screen that you have on your own computer. And then there's also an instructor overlay that you can kind of put up that, is kind of the more general for everybody to see. On your devices, you'll see there's a little button or a link that says, I don't understand. So students can hit that if they don't understand the answer to a question. That's kind of an easier way than like raising your hand and being like, hey, I don't get it. So anonymously they can kind of reach out to you. They can also message the instructor. I know one of the kind of funny stories that we were told when we were first introduced to learning catalytics is there's an instructor and he's up at the front of the classroom and he's using this, he's kind of delivering questions, and then all of a sudden on his computer he sees a message come across that says, It flies down.
Oh.
Kind of just, it's kind of a funny little anecdote, but it's kind of cool that there's, little ways with learning catalytics where you can really engage, even those shy students, the ones who are, they're never going to raise their hand, they're never going to ask the questions or say they don't understand. This kind of gives them that outlet to do it without having to, point themselves out and say that, I'm the Lone Ranger who doesn't understand. So that's learning catalytics. This is all tied there, as with most products, there's a grade book to it. So, if it's something that you wanted to use for, classroom participation grade, for example, some instructors will do a 5-question quiz in class to take a test or take attendance and also to see who did the reading. You could use something like learning catalytics to do that during class. And, it gives you a lot of flexibility in the way that you're engaging the students, the types of questions that you're asking them. But it's a little bit more active and engaging than, just handing out a quiz in class, for example. So, these types of classroom engagement tools are really good to kind of, play around with and just get them interacting in a different way. And then, of course, any excuse they have to use their phones. Kind of
Great,
jazz them up.
great question. Yeah. Can you individually see the answers of each participant?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can export it to an Excel sheet, so if you want to use that for a part of the grade, absolutely.
Okay.
And the way when you create the courses in here, you can, it's a slide bar between 0 and 100%.
Okay.
Do you want the responses to be graded for correctness or just for participation? So you could say as long as the student submits something, they're given a correct check mark for it, Or do you want to say they have to get the answer correct? So I'm actually going to test students on their knowledge, And maybe not to affect their grade necessarily, but really to see where students are struggling in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So you could address stuff on the fly. And the other thing that's nice is I'm looking at different disciplines. There's pre-built questions in there, but you can obviously create your own. But you can deliver questions on the fly as well. So if you have a set of 5 questions like Andy did, but she wants to deliver a brand new one that she just thought of, she can do that instantly for you and just type it right there. Just take a second and just deliver it.
Yeah, it's very flexible. But the question libraries are pretty cool. So these have hundreds of questions under each different discipline. So whether you're looking at anatomy, or even project management, we've got a lot of the business areas in there, sociology, of course. And so in addition to having a lot of questions that, Pearson has provided and our editor teams have provided, we also have a ton of questions in here that instructors are adding. So instructors can actually add their questions and then can populate them into the library. So you can actually pull a lot of questions that other instructors are using. We do have kind of a little learning catalytics community in there. So some questions instructors have commented and said, I really liked this question, or maybe I changed this with it. So there's a lot of opportunity that you have to kind of see how people are using it, what's working in their classrooms, and just get a little bit more information. So, but that's kind of cool. That way, go ahead.
Oh, no, so it's pretty user-friendly though, if you want to make up a question, just copy and paste it in there? Or?
Yeah, so you can either do something like this, you can just literally click on one of these questions that already exists, click on it to preview it, and then if you like it, you can just click the little add to module link.
So that's where it's going to that's the correct area. I'm having a tough time seeing the screen.
Oh, I know, we're kind of sideways.
So, what do you want me to click on? Sorry.
Oh, so if you like it, you can, there's the add to modules, you can just add it. Or let's go ahead and let's show them how to create his own question. Let's go back now. And click on the UNLV resolution. Okay. Create.
Sorry.
You're doing good. Yeah, create module. Okay, and then you can just title it whatever. So in this case, I titled it. Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'm about to type my own keyboard.
Oops. I can't type UNLV presentation. Tagging this one, yep. And then you have a few different ways actually that you can set up a session. So instructor-led synchronous would be if I'm doing this in class, like we just did. We're going to work through this together, maybe have some discussion as we go through. You can also do automated synchronous. So these are cool, like if you're doing an online class, for example, where you don't have the students sitting there, you can still use Learning Catalytics. So you can automate it so they're doing it from home. So the timing maybe is being led by the system, or maybe it's just following the path that once they submit an answer to one, they get delivered the next. So you can actually use this as an at-home or in-person quizzing resource as well. So in this case, we're doing the instructor-led synchronous. And then here's where you this is again where you have the control. You can kind of adjust it. Where do you want to set it? Do you want all of the weights and correctness, participation? Do you want it to be somewhere in the middle? So you have control of how you want that to be set up for scoring. And then here's where you're at the questions. Yeah, go ahead and click create a question. So up at the top, you have all the different question types. So again, there are quite a few in here, so beyond just what you would maybe see with an iClicker. Let's see, you can do short answers, a lot of sketches. There's a word cloud, for example. That's kind of what it looks like once you get a lot of submissions in there. A lot of graphs, yeah.
So I assume if you do like multiple choice, will it give you the statistics? Like,
Yep, it'll show you what percentages answered it
data.
this way. Yep, so you'll get all of that information and all that data. Highlighting is cool as well. In some classes, they'll kind of put a passage up and say, highlight the part that's correct, or highlight the part that's wrong, or highlight what's important. So they can do that as well. Long answer, short answer, expressions. You have a lot of flexibility.
Goodbye, Scantra.
Was that?
Goodbye, Scantra.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right?
we really don't need that. Yeah.
Very eco-friendly
I love it.
technology, yes.
Especially because you give me the statistics of the answers and individually be able to allocate who got a grade and everything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we will grade individual, not just as a group. We will say,
Yep.
so and so got this, the out of the 10 questions got all 10 or
Exactly.
right. Really cool.
Yep, so it'll show you that. You can also group students, so maybe you like to kind of really harbor that group atmosphere in your classroom. The system can group multiple students together, so maybe it's, find somebody who has an opposing view and convince them that you're right. So you could do something like that. So the system can offer you, the opportunity to group into a number of different individuals, so small groups, big groups, a lot of flexibility. But yeah, this is how you do it.
And if you want to spend the time, you can create a seating chart that mirrors your classroom, and then students select where they sit. I personally think that would take a lot of time for students to figure out exactly where they sit. Smaller class, maybe a little more effective, but the point then you can say, okay, this seat and this seat, you two had different answers to discuss. Then you can group them.
Yeah.
Then so you can automatically group together somebody that has two wrong answers, or people that are right answers, however you want to group people together.
Yeah.
Use some options.
So that's almost like the opportunity to create kind of like a little
Integrate,
inside
yeah.
tutoring thing, one student who's getting it right versus a student who's not. Yeah.
And upload images, so anything that you want doesn't have to be something from Pearson.
that's cool.
Yep. That's it.
Will the image that you upload also be available into the database from now on, or how does that
If
work?
you save the question, it will be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can copy, so you create a module is what it's called, and you can copy that module over as many times as you like.
Okay.
Oh yeah, exactly. So if you were going to do it, for multiple semesters or for multiple sections, things like that, you can create one module once and then just copy that over into each one. So
Cool.
So
Very nice.
it's supposed to be built in
So-
the Revit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is really cool.
No reinventing the wheel. That's nice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can reinvent it to the level that you want to, but we've got a lot of supporting material to save you from having to.
And there are also, so you can add questions from the library. So if you're teaching a certain discipline, you can select add from library, and then select your discipline, as you can see, and we're constantly adding questions in there.
can you set some questions to be for correctness, and some questions as group questions where you only get points for participating?
It's a good question.
I think you'd have to do the.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to do the 50-50, the mix of
You have to do
correct
sep-
and participation.
Yeah, or I would suggest creating separate
Mark.
class sessions.
Or
you know,
just two
session
different
IDs.
modules. Yeah, that would be easy. You could just do different modules. So one module that's all on correctness and one module that's on participation.
Oh, yeah,
Then you
okay.
could grab the two data sets and just combine them
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So that
That's a
would-
good idea, though. It would,
The wheels are
Oh,
turning.
yes, I love the technology for the classroom.
It's awesome.
Yes.
But like compared to the clickers, I mean, the nice thing about this, you have more options, right? But like,
18 different question
Yeah.
types. I mean, with a clicker, you can't draw a picture. You can't select a region. You can't type a short answer.
yeah, but for this, I mean, the department has to pay for that though. I mean, it's not,
For learning catalytics,
yeah.
this is something that the students would buy.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's $12.
So it's $12 for 6 months, $20 for a year, or $10 packaged with any book, and they get access for 12 months with the value pack. What's nice about that is if one class at UNLV is using it, that student would have access to learning catalytics in any class.
And the clicker, that's like, I mean, that's a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
50 is like the lowest
Yeah.
I see, 40 to 50 is the lowest. I see.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what type of clickers you use.
I mean, the only thing, I mean, you're assuming, I mean, I'm sure most, if not all students do have like a smartphone or something, but you're kind
Yeah.
of assuming they do though. I mean,
Yeah, and if you're in a situation where maybe not all the students do have smartphones, you can always say, in this case, we're going to group. So 2 students are going to work together and they'll submit their answer because it's likely that at least 50% of your students hold a smartphone.
Mhm.
So that way you can kind of work around that. If somebody doesn't have a device, just group them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So kind of a fun different way to
Yeah.
work here. Any other questions on learning catalytics? All right.
so you want to go into media share?
Go back to PowerPoint really fast.
Yep.
And then click here.
Sorry, yeah, I can't.
I've got a way better vantage point than you. I feel bad. You got like a massive glare.
Probably have sat over there.
Sorry, one more question about that.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something you can try one time in your classroom to see how you?
Yeah, we do class tests a lot,
Really?
class pilots, things like that. You can try it out, see how you
Okay.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'd be
so-
happy to work with you on something like that.
Oh,
So,
okay, that's cool.
yeah, definitely.
I'm super excited about this.
I know we're talking. So digital media, outside of classroom engagement tools, this is something I know that you guys are really always looking for new ways to incorporate as well. So whether you're bringing in content you're finding on YouTube, I know TED Talks are really popular because those are really engaging, intriguing topics. I watched a few of those last night myself. Social media, but then kind of finding ways, how can we actually tie that piece to assessment, or how can we use that to, give students credit for what they're doing, or get some sort of sense of what are they thinking about this, how are they understanding this. So we have a tool called MediaShare that Anna knows very well that we've created to help us out with this. MediaShare was initially created as a resource for public speaking classes, where students could record themselves giving speeches, either on their phone, because there's an app that goes with it, or they could do it in person and then upload their video into the application. They could upload outlines, and then instructors could provide really targeted, time-specific feedback to them. But as we've, as time has gone by with MediaShare, we've had a lot of other instructors adopting it and trying it out in different ways. So Anna's actually somebody who's used it previously with her social classes. Did you want to talk about that?
Oh, sure. So I used it I teach an ethnic groups course, and the model that I use is a little bit different. A lot of people go, okay, now we're going to learn about white people, now we're going to learn about black people, now we're going to learn about Asians and Latinos, but I do more topical stuff. And I had 3 goals. I wanted us to talk about what do scholars say about different groups, what do the different groups actually say about themselves, so they had to do a service learning project, and what do the media say. And so my students were able to share on a regular basis the information, the messages they were getting from the media about the different groups that we were studying, and it was really fun. And it was kind of really powerful in some instances, right? So we hear research says, for example, that black women are underrepresented in education, underrepresented in professional fields, more likely, overrepresented in welfare, things like this, overrepresented as single-headed households. And one of my students shared a really great spoken word video where this woman was really countering this dominant narrative of black women, and she's talking about, those aren't the black women I know. Let me tell you about the black women I know, and the historical figures that matter to me. And so it was, I think, not a TED Talk. I think this woman was doing her spoken word piece on an evening show or something, but it really helped us to kind of really critically unpack what are the media telling us about different groups, and is it true all the time, some of the time, how problematic is it? So it was a really great learning tool for my class.
Yeah, and so in a case like that, for example, a student could take that piece of that media that they found online somewhere, they can upload it into MediaShare. You can either, post to your YouTube link, or, if it's available in some other way, post it into MediaShare, and then you can post a written response, upload an essay saying, what's your thought on this, critically analyze this. So there are a lot of different ways that you can kind of tie those pieces together. To make sure that students are able to take advantage of those new forms of multimedia, not just, here, upload your essay from Blackboard and I'll go track down your video and watch it and make sure that the two jive. So that's kind of how MediaShare works. So we've got a little quick demo that we're going to show you that too. All right. So this one isn't going to be quite as interactive as the learning catalytics, but we're still going to be getting your feedback on this one. See what I'm doing because this game is Google.
You got it, then it's that time.
I know, it stopped. There we go. Maybe, there we go. All right. MediaShare. I'll let you sign in as your
Sure.
student account. Oh, we'll do it up here because we'll show your student one up here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, you're going? Okay, slowly. Oh, that's weird.
This is-
Oh, it logged me because I was already logged in as learning catalytics.
Yeah.
Logged myself out. But it's kind of nice if you have one Pearson account, you can kind of use it across everything. Do I need like 7 different logins? So one popular way that instructors are using MediaShare right now is they're kind of uploading a video that they want students to watch, and then you can input questions that will appear at certain points during the video. So, you know, somebody maybe says something and you think, oh, that's really intriguing, I'd like to see what my students think. You can input a question. So we're going to kind of do that right here. Do you know if we have sound on here? Let's see.
This, but we can give it a shot first.
And we've got a little volume guy here too. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah. Let's see. I'll do that one. We've got a little video to watch. Let's see if we can.
Yes, James! In my hand, I have 1 dozen eggs. 8 have been off. 4 of them are still raw. You and Brandon would take turns selecting 1 egg at a time. I'm on the top of your head. You won't know which eggs are cooked and which are raw. You must choose an egg, and what you do, you must smash that egg to the top of your head. No more practice. Brian's going to smash 2 raw eggs on the center. Moses, Bradley.
Hopefully none of you guys saw this.
You will have you choose. The first egg. Choose wisely, my friend.
All right. First question is Bradley Cooper's egg raw or hard boiled? What do you guys think?
Raw.
Raw.
Raw. All right. Let's go ahead and click. Let's submit our answer.
Yeah, do it. Right now.
But it's cool because that happens automatically. It'll stop and ask you questions.
That's cool.
They cooked about 2-3 hours.
All right. What do you think now? Raw or hard boiled? Raw.
I'll say raw again.
Raw. I didn't want to ask for that really. A couple more and then. Alright, what do you think, guys? Raw or hard boiled?
Must be raw.
Yeah, it's like great probability that you're wrong.
Raw or hard boiled?
Besides, he's the host.
Yeah.
Right?
Alright. So that's kind of one, different way you
That's
can
cool.
use it. You can either have them do this at home, obviously, or you could bring it up in class, something like that. But, we've got the quiz polls in there, which is, that's kind of a fun way of engaging them as they're actually watching a video. Alright, any questions about MediaShare? We also have, we have one other piece, one other assignment that you wanted to show, Jay. Okay.
So I'll explain instead of logging in. I think it'll be better, but you can do speech uploads with it as well. And I don't know how appropriate that is for anatomy, physiology, or the other courses, but for certain areas where you're asking students to put together a speech for the class, then it's a time timestamp exactly where, okay, you've said 5 times now, and then it'll timestamp that.
Oh, cool.
So was that 30 seconds into my speech, or was?
Yeah, good question. And I think what's Pearson's animation on dynamic physiology, where muscle action and
PAL?
everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Is it compatible with the media share?
You could upload, I'm trying to think how you would do that.
He's the right person to ask him that.
So I used to be-
Because say for instance, we're analyzing biceps brachii action on the elbow joint.
Yep.
You know, so can we just put the animation and put a question? What is the action?
If you
Which
had a
joint?
Yes, if you had a link to it. My concern is the link is probably copyrighted, so that you can't copy it and paste it to a public domain, even though this is private. Because both are password protected and they're both Pearson,
Gotcha.
I don't see why the editors wouldn't allow you and give you the link
Okay.
for that particular. So that's something, who's your rep for Pearson for?
I would not know.
It's probably
Okay.
it's Amy Poland. But I'll give you my contact info. Well, I already gave you it. Yeah, so if you email me, I can work with Amy and we can figure it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why I mean, it's not like you're posting it to Google
Right,
or something,
exactly.
you know, yeah, it's password protected, so I don't see what the big deal would be.
All right.
Yeah. But for psychology, for example, you could throw out a question, how do you feel about this, or interview some people and ask about this, or, demonstrate some examples of certain behaviors, things like that, and you can actually, do it as a video, so they can, gives them a little bit more creativity. I know that was one of Anna's big, kind of draws to it initially, was we're not just forcing them to write a paper, we're giving them options. They can upload images, they can upload a video, they can interview, they can get really creative with it, so it just kind of gives them a different way to approach their work as well. So that's kind of one of the things about it. Okay. Oops. Too far. Nope, that was me. I went too far. Skip back over. So other options for digital media as well. We've looked at some options for how you can incorporate media inside the classroom. So then obviously there's a whole piece of what happens once they walk out the door. So obviously technology is important there too, and they're looking for new ways to use it. So here's some options to ebooks. Most of the publishers in one way or another have an ebook or an online digital book. Individualized learning plans. A lot of publishers are offering technology now that has kind of adaptive technology or assesses students individually and kind of creates plans, study plans for them that are based on what they understand versus what they still need to know. So those are out there a lot. And then mobile applications. There's a lot that we're trying to figure out. Apps are amazing and you can do pretty much anything with an app. So trying to figure out ways that we can take those apps and make them more useful to the students in school. So, and of course, with all these things, we want to figure out ways to tie them to assessments, because if we're going to ask students to do these things, they want points for it. They want to get some sort of credit for the work that they're doing, and they deserve that. And that's also, helping them learn and helping them, grow and encouraging them to want to do this work. So, a couple of examples that we have of these digital media, ebooks. A lot of us have. Well, we've got all of our books pretty much available in a standard ebook format. We also have a brand new product called Rebel, and it's using that as well. It's I guess you could say it's an ebook, but it's an ebook on steroids. It's where you take all the content from the book, so exactly what you would expect in the written, in the written form, put it up online, but it's interjected with videos, with simulations, with activities that they get to engage with writing, and then assessment as well. We did a lot of research. We worked with 23,000 instructors and students when we were trying to figure out what do they want. We know that the ebook thing, that's great, but it's not enough. So what do they want? And so we worked with all these students, these instructors, focus groups. There were a lot of sessions to really dig into what would help them be successful. And what we came out with was Rebel. It was interesting. We had our big company meeting this January, and we had some student ambassadors who we've partnered with as a company to kind of really source their feedback and figure out what's going on with the students. They had some of those ambassadors come up on stage, and one of them mentioned that something that he wanted, and he'd never seen Rebel, he hadn't heard about it yet, but he said, I just wish there was something where, when I'm doing my reading, before I get too far in my reading, it would stop me and make sure that I know what I read. So, he's like, I'm tired of doing my reading. I read an entire chapter and then I realize I have no idea what I just read. And that was so funny when he said that, because that's one of the major features of Rebel, is we've got these kind of tiny mini quizzes, usually about 3 to 5 questions built right into the reading. So they'll read a section and then it's going to ask them, 5 little questions. And if they're not answering those questions, it's a really good cue to them to go back and read again. Figure out what you didn't understand, why you didn't get it. So it kind of stops them. It gives them those stopping points. So they're not just reading the entire chapter, spending an hour, and then realizing, I don't know what I just read.
I have an idea for you guys on Rebel, on ebooks.
What's that?
Speed reading. I took a couple classes on that, and one of the ways we practice improving your reading speed is tracing. Do you guys have anything incorporated on the text that actually traces the line? Because on digital you cannot do, because if you trace, you move the page. You cannot use your fingers.
We kind of do.
Would it be something for you guys to look into, maybe trying to get like whether it's a dot or something that runs across each line?
We have a highlight, so you could actually drag your finger as you're going, and it would highlight. So it would kind of serve as that tracer. Does that follow along with that principle?
Somewhat.
Yeah. But interesting that you mentioned that. We're actually coming out with a new product. It's
Called Harvard Reader. It started off, it was at Harvard, but it's called Harvard Reader based on their program. And so it's, I think it's called College Reading Readiness or something. We're changing the name to it away from Harvard.
Yeah, still in development.
But it's not live yet, but that's exactly the point. Is based on their program, it is to get students to read and understand what they read much quicker. And so it's app-based, I believe, is the direction it's going as well. Sometimes it'll show images real quick, it'll flash them and then say, okay, what was the image, you know, or you're reading this, it'll test them on it. We don't have anything to show you on that right now, but it's in
But it's because Harvard's been teaching, I guess, the speed reading class for like 40 years. And if you've been to Harvard, it's like a staple. Everybody takes it. I've got an instructor out in Phoenix who she and her husband both went to Harvard, and they talk about this class. And so when I heard that we were coming out with this app, I told her, and she was so excited because she still references principles that she learned from that class.
Right.
So it's an app that we're coming out with that's going to be teaching them those speed reading skills. And it's not, it's not a developmental level, so it's not something typically that we would see at the community colleges, but here at UNLV, it's the appropriate level, where you've got students who are already strong in their reading, but teaching them to read more efficiently and faster would be a huge win. So that's definitely something we'll keep you updated on.
I like the idea though inside the text
Yeah.
itself.
The tracking piece.
The tech.
Yeah.
Because this is a separate program, so this doesn't address what you just asked, but that's in development. To have something in screen that you could do besides highlighting, I think is a good idea.
Yeah,
But
that's a
no,
very good
we
idea.
don't have that yet. but it's
Yeah,
good.
the highlighting would probably be the closest that we have
Right.
at this point, but that's a great piece of feedback. Definitely take that back to our development.
I'll
Yeah.
give my email if you want to do a kickback anytime soon.
Oh, perfect. Love kickbacks.
So you teach A and P, right?
Yeah.
And what course do you teach?
Political science.
Political science, okay.
Wait, who's psychology?
I type it in.
Oh,
I don't teach
I
psychology.
totally, I picked, I was like, there's gotta be him teaching psychology. So that's
Yeah,
my
it's like
political
the
science.
technical problems.
Yeah.
We do have, and I know you look familiar, that's probably why, that's why I figured you were
Oh,
psych.
maybe.
Because we poli sci don't know all the time too. But we do have Rebel for all of our intro poli sci, but for a lot of other poli sci. Anatomy and physiology, Rebel's coming out for it, so we're kind of building up that
Cool.
list. But we can show you what this looks like. And Anna's currently using this in some of her classes, so she probably has some really good feedback on what's worked, student feedback, anything like that. But and I just typed that in.
So how do you access the media share? How does that work?
Very similar to Learning Catalytics, same way.
Okay.
We can sell codes separately to the bookstore, or we can package it with a book for $5.
Oh, okay.
Is what the package price of Media Share is.
Okay.
So the price is included on the price of the book when they buy, or they have to sign up and then put a credit card or something like that when they try to access it?
If we package the code with a physical book, it's $5 in addition to the book, and it's an access code that they'll register online.
Okay.
They can also buy access to Media Share directly from the Media Share site,
Okay.
and it's, what is it, 35, 30? What is Media Share on its own?
3740.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Right around, 35 to 40.
40.
Yeah,
Right.
is when I'll find out.
And that's
exactly
for
what
a
it is.
semester or for
That is
yearly?
for, I believe, 12 months.
That's for 12 months as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so same thing, they get 12 months of access, which is nice.
It's like,
Okay. There we go. I'm gonna pull up this one since you're familiar with this one. We obviously have a giant catalog, because I gotta scroll it down and find it. But this is what Revel looks like. It's really basic, super simple. A lot of, previously we had a program called, well, we still had it, but our My Labs, you might have heard of My Poli-Sci Lab, or I'm sure you're probably familiar with our My Labs as well. For the humanities and social sciences, it tended to be a little bit too much. It was too many options, too many, features, and so we kind of took a lot of cues from that learning, and we pared a lot of that down and we created Rebel. So we've got, it's very simplified interface. Student and instructor view is pretty much the same, but we'll just hop into the table of contents so you can kind of take a look. Do you have what chapter have you liked so far?
Oh, I like all of them. Yeah, they're in culture, media, and communications right now.
Let's take a look at that. So that's how you navigate through. Very easy, you just click. Everything is audio. So the book will actually read itself to them.
Oh,
Which is
really?
cool.
yeah.
So they can plug it in, you know, to their car or whatever MP3, you know,
Yeah,
as
they
they're
have
driving.
Bluetooth in their car, yeah, they can load it up. It works on their phones, tablets, whatever, so you can load it up on your phone. You can do your listening while you're driving, making dinner, working out if you
Yeah.
can work out to that. I have a hard time personally, but
So it's good for like different learning styles, right?
Yeah,
Like, one of the
exactly,
things
yeah,
that-
that's
one of the
right.
many things that appeal
Diverse.
to me,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, ADA compliance is very important as well, so it does get
Mhm.
into that. But you'll see right away, we've got videos built right in as we go.
They're all closed captioned.
Yep, it's captioning for everything. You can turn it on, change the language.
You can speed listen to videos. We
Yeah, there you
have-
That'll be interesting.
You can speed the voice up.
Or cheap monkeys.
The chip hats.
What is culture? Sociologists think of culture as a bunch of different things. We see culture as a set of values and beliefs.
All right, very interesting. We'll keep going. But a lot of the videos, so the videos are going to be, selected by the author team. A lot of time they're produced by the author team. So you'll see the authors, and they're creating the videos, or they've, helped cultivate the content for those. And then here, click the icons and below to identify examples of material in the material culture. Just click these little numbers. A little bit different than just, kind of looking through your book. All of the key terms are hyperlinked, which is nice, so no more flipping back to glossary, the horror of having to do that, right? And we've got more artifacts.
And it looks, operates the same on the phone, tablet, PC, so it's a responsive system.
Same screens.
Yep.
And whether you're doing iOS or Android.
Yep.
Both, yep. And it's not an app, it's just through the website, so that's all they do. They just go to Rebel website and log in.
The reason it's not an app is the page load time is too long through an app.
Right.
And we know if it's if it's not within 1 or 2 seconds, that we lose students' attention, so. And that's why it's HTML.
Yeah, it's a ton of content. It would probably blow up their phones if they had to download all the content from the
Alright.
entire book. Yeah, it just kind of makes their learning experience a bit more interesting. What's cool too as the instructor, here's an example of writing. One thing that we know is really important is critical thinking. Everybody's trying to find new ways to get the students to think critically. When they're just reading their book, ideally they would read the objectives and then they would think critically about how those objectives are demonstrated throughout the chapter, but we know that's not super happening. So we built in these multiple kinds of writing within the chapter. So this is an example of a journal entry. So they read the material and then it kind of gives them just an informal prompt and they just respond. And this is, it's not for a grade, it's just really, what do you think or how do you feel about this? And what's kind of cool with the journals is they're private. They're just between the student and the instructor. So nobody else sees it. So they can kind of really put in their thoughts without being afraid that somebody's gonna, judge them or think, something from their response. We do also have discussion board posts in there as well, or discussion board style posts, and that's where everybody does see each other's responses. They can comment back and forth to each other. You as the instructor can go in there and comment as well, so you can really have that community feedback going as well, literally right on the pages of your book. Okay.
So is this going to replace all the previous ebooks, the version of that? Or?
In our world, it is, yes.
Yeah.
For the humanities, social sciences, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is the MyLab component we have is going to kind of go away, and this is what we've evolved into.
Mhm.
It's more affordable, it's more engaging, and everything happens in screen, so students don't have to go to an external site to access a video or a simulation. Before, you had to assign it as an instructor to an assignment calendar. It was kind of tedious. This is all built where you want it to go, so it's a plug-and-play model.
So you can rent it for a semester?
For 12 months, you
For
get